right? Because they're used to being at the top of the power structure, and they're used to being, in charge of all the things. And they struggle with communication. That's absolutely true. It is so hard when people get defensive, but if people are, okay, so here's the thing. If people are getting defensive, then either they need to work on that or they're not your people. If you can't have healthy conversations with people and tell them how you feel and have them respond in a way that makes you feel safe, then these are not your people. And that is what I'm realizing is I have a lot of people in my life who are not my people. And it's not even like they did you wrong. It might not even be intentional. It might just be like someone did something accidentally. It's very frustrating.
So the topic is to agree or to disagree.
To agree or to disagree, more like to take ownership when you hurt someone's feelings or take ownership when you do something wrong. Like if someone is late to work every day, their boss has a right to say, hey, listen, I've noticed that you're late to work every day. I really need you to be here on time. That's completely reasonable. It is not reasonable for an employee to respond and say, well, I'm late because of this reason and it's not my fault and you should be more understanding. You need to show up to work on time, right? Like,
okay, but if you're doing something nice for somebody, why do you want them to say something to you about it? Hey, you're doing a good job. You know you're doing a good job from your heart.
Well, I'm not saying that you need someone to tell you that you're doing a good job. I'm just saying that people need to be able to hear feedback. Like, you need to be able to hear, like, this hurts my feelings, this doesn't hurt my feelings. Like, people should be able to share how they're feeling and feel safe.
But society has changed so much. You're afraid to say something to your neighbor for fear they might shoot you.
That's absolutely true, especially here. Grandma, I don't know if you guys heard her, but she said, society has changed so much, you're afraid to say something to your neighbor because people might shoot you. I think the way that society has changed is we're more honest about what we want from our neighbors. Like, if you walk over to your neighbor and be like, hey, cut your grass, it's ugly. Of course, your neighbor's going to be like, mind your fucking business, lady. you know? So like, but if you walk over and say, hey, listen, I noticed that your grass is getting really long. Do you need a new landscaper? Or is there anything wrong with your husband who usually cuts the lawn? Like, there are ways to address problems that aren't criticism and like violence, right? Like we have to speak in ways that are non-violent. Good, I'm glad you can hear her. I agree with your grandma. A lot of people agree with you, Grandma.
Well, that's the way I always try to talk from the heart.
Yeah, you should.
Not
and that's
from the mouth.
That's right.
The mouth gets you in trouble.
Yeah. People cannot deal with criticism. And to be fair, I'm a teacher, so I was trained to communicate as being a teacher. I was not trained to communicate in my home. In my home, there was only violent communication. So when I first started teaching, when I did my student teaching, when I first went to teaching school, and I had to sit in these meetings and collaborate with people and share our opinions and give each other feedback on our content, like that was really fucking hard for me. But my training as a teacher taught me how to do that. I had to learn to work with different types of adults and millions of different types of kids. So if I wasn't able to, I was never going to be an expert at everything the second I walked in the door. I had to be able to get feedback in order to grow. That's very much part of being a teacher. But people who aren't teachers and don't necessarily have that training really struggle with communication, and they don't know how to do it. And it's like, I expect people to know how to do it, but they don't have the training that I do, so I have to be more patient with them. Did I end up dropping a hint of what Yohan did in the next episode? No hints. My neighborhood has a Facebook group. They post in the group with rants. Ugh. My town where I grew up in has that. There's like a West Islip patch or something, and it's just a bunch of moms talking shit about other moms, about teachers, about kids. Like, it is wild. Thank you. Grandma does have some great wisdom. I have cut a few people out of my life in the last couple of years. Yeah. Someone said to me the other day, you don't have anyone in your life who was in your life 25 years ago. And I'm like, I'm a completely different person than I was 25 years ago. First of all, it's not true. But I think as we evolve as people, our circles are going to change because not everybody in your circle is going to evolve at the same pace as you. So like the people that are in your life are always going to change. And that's okay. If you can't communicate with someone and tell them, hey, this is not working for me, and they don't snap at you. When they snap at you, like, you don't need these people in your life. Oh, Kelly, I gotta tell you a story. As a fellow good communicator, I have to learn patience for others who communicate poorly. Patience, and also when to walk away. I had an interaction this morning. There's a guy who is very obsessed with me and a lot of cast members, not just me. But I have asked on 3 separate occasions, please do not put my name in your mouth. Do not make videos using my name or tagging me. Do not put my picture on your feed. And I've said it so nicely. To run this platform, you see this little Liv Yinsa? That is trademarked. I paid a lawyer $2,000 to trademark Liv Yinsa and Yinsa. This platform isn't just like me waking up willy-nilly. There are people who are paid thousands of dollars behind the scenes in my business to help me create this content. I sit through tens of thousands of dollars of education to know the things that I share with you. This isn't just something I wake up in the morning and I'm like, let me share a story. It comes from work. Like, I work to create. And so I said to someone this morning, please stop putting my name in your mouth. Please stop posting pictures of me on your feed. Please, pretend that I don't exist. I've said it nicely so many times. Now I have to be more direct. I created a boundary, never rude, ever. And I got, attacked for saying, this makes me uncomfortable. And it's like I have no recourse in that moment because I can't really control what people put on their feed. Struggling with communication in my relationship, and it takes a lot of patience. Yeah, there's a book called Crucial Conversations. Whenever I do private coaching, I always recommend it to my clients who are struggling with communication, because that's really is, I think, at the root of every problem that we have. Our partnerships, our work. If we can't communicate how we feel and what we need, then we're not going to be able to progress in any of our areas of our lives. So I feel like, that book, sorry, I lost my train of thought from a comment. That book was really helpful in teaching me how to communicate in lots of different settings. I don't like to call myself a life coach. What I do is I help people heal from trauma without medication. So whether it's physical trauma, emotional trauma, spiritual trauma, I am trying to get people off of antidepressants, off of opioids, off of antipsychotics, off of sleeping pills. I have been surrounded by addiction my entire life, and I've watched it destroy people's lives. I'm probably going to have to take care of 20 people until the day that I die because of the amount of addiction that's around me. That is my life's mission. In addition, one thing that I've learned about myself over the last couple of years is that I also work to help women in particular get out of abusive relationships, because I have a lot of experience with it, and I have a lot of training in it, and it just seems like that's the kind of women who are drawn to me, are women who are in narcissistic, abusive relationships and need support in getting out of it. Do you think a relationship can survive with opposite political beliefs? So opposite political beliefs are rooted in opposite values. If we don't have the same values, then we don't want the same thing. So for example, if we have opposite political beliefs and I believe in the right to choose and you believe in the right to life, and I get pregnant, that's going to be a problem in our relationship. If I believe in trans rights and you are homophobic, that's going to be a problem in our relationship if I have trans friends that I need to bring you to see. So there are ways that political beliefs will cause a rift in a relationship. Sometimes, I have a couple of Trumpy friends who I'm able to maintain relationships with because the nature of our relationship isn't rooted in those core values, if that makes sense. But for the most part, most of my friends are radical liberals because it's very hard to be my friend and not be in alignment with those values. What other questions? Can what you learned help with actual PTSD? Because I have it to where I can hardly leave my home. So first of all, therapy. PTSD is very complicated, and it requires trained professionals in the cause of your PTSD. PTSD isn't something that just shows up out of nowhere. There are things that cause it. It could be sexual abuse. It could be physical abuse. It could be neglect. It could be war. It could be, poverty. There are lots of things that cause PTSD. So you have to figure out what is the cause of your PTSD, and you have to find a trained therapist who has worked with people with those causes, which is very hard to do and can be very expensive. There are also books, a lot of books that I would recommend, but I don't recommend navigating PTSD alone. Because it will keep you in your house. Triggers, yeah. Thanks for being an ally for us. People are so just unjust. Thank you for that. I struggle when people are always like, well, I support women because I am one, or I support gay people because I am one. or, you know, my mom is one, or my brother's one, or whatever it is. I think that we have to always ask ourselves, what are our core values? One of my core values is everybody deserves to live the life that they desire. Everybody deserves to love whoever they want to love. Everybody deserves to live wherever they'd like to live. Everybody deserves to have the circle they want to have. Like, we all have desires in our heart that are placed there by God, and they're there for a reason. And so we have a right and an obligation almost to honor those desires. So, you know, I think that my allyship for any group is only rooted in my belief that everybody deserves to feel safe and feel loved. But when those Trumps say certain comments, it's awkward, yeah. One of the reasons why I'm like such a social justice warrior is because I grew up in a town that is very, very racist. And my father and his father were very, very racist. I mean, really, really, not just like, you know, inherent bias racist, but like overtly, outwardly racist. And I realize how much, because I'm white, people will say things to me that they won't say to non-white people because they assume that I'm one of them and that I think like them. And so that is one of the reasons why it's almost like from a place of rage, or a place of like a really passionate place, that I'm an ally for certain groups, because I know what people are saying and doing to you. So that's, you know, that's why. I love you too. All the negativity and scrutiny you face from the show, how do you deal with it or stay so positive? Because I know that none of it is real. So energy only is positive or negative if you give meaning to it. All energy is neutral, right? Something is hate because I place a particular value on a thing that someone says. It's only hate if I feel hated. Energy, it doesn't matter if people are speaking positively or negatively about me, all energy can be transmuted. So I take all of the energy that comes in my direction and I transmute it and I create a beautiful life. Look at my fucking life. I'm sure some of you are on your way to work right now. I'm not, you know, and I still have plenty of money to live and enjoy my life. So like the hate and the drama and the shit talking, it fuels this life that I have. So and to be fair, I have bad days where I snap at a bitch. I'm not at all pretending that I'm like hiding in the Himalayas with my saffron on my forehead like a monk. That is not an accurate reflection of who I am as a person. But again, I have spent my entire life learning how to navigate hate, because I've always been this way. I've always been polarizing. I've always been passionate about what I believe in. And that's always going to generate hate, because there's always going to be a lot of people who disagree with me just as fervently as I feel the way that I do. So, you know, there are times when I go hard for a particular cause and there are people who are going hard for the opposite side, and that creates tension. But I take that tension and I create something from it. Okay, it's alchemy, and we all have that power. Everybody has the power to transmute. Scorpios are particularly good at it. I also have an Aries moon, which gives me a lot of fire. But you know, it's all possible. I see cast members lose their shit over the hate, and I'm just like, none of this is real. None of this is matter. None of this. It was weird. An astrological geography reading once, and it's like where astrologically you're supposed to live and you're going to find your soulmate and all these things. And this was like right before COVID, by Sin Travieso, who I love very much and I have not seen in a very long time. So shout out to her. And she told me I should live in Alabama and that's where my soulmate's going to be. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's accurate, but it's like a whole line, so it could be South America too. I have to follow the line. And this is why you need to put out to the universe that you'll find a loving partner that shares your same beautiful mindset of the world. Exactly. Exactly. I think that every partner I've had, I don't know if I'm able to have a life partner just because of how rapidly I change. Like, I think about myself 5 years ago, and I've been 11 different people since then. And I don't know if there's anyone else in the world who would want that. I feel like I'm supposed to have 9,000 partners because everybody's there with me for the season that I'm in. Thank you. I appreciate you. I love being single. Yeah, it's easy. Being single is so easy. You know, it's like there's no stress. Thank you. Yeah, we're multifaceted humans. And the more you experience the world, the more you change. Like, I think about my family, and they've lived in the same town for generations, and they just buy their parents' houses, and, like, they never really leave the bubble. And because of that, you know, their belief systems are very narrow. And because people call me a fairy, because I bounce all over the place, but that's how I grow. I learned so many different things. Like, where I am in Florida, like, never in a million years would I think that I would be here. I hadn't seen my grandmother in 15 years, and I had spoken to her maybe twice in that 15 years. Nobody even called me when my grandfather died. And somehow God placed me here to take care of her because there's no one else. And, like, put me in this bizarre suburban fucking strip mall community that I would never ever live in. Like, I cried in the parking lot of Walmart the other day because it was my third time in Walmart in that week, and I was like, I cannot do this, I cannot do this, I cannot live here, I cannot do this every day, this cannot be me. And it was like a moment where I was like, why, God, why are you placing me here? What is it that I'm supposed to learn from this place? But for whatever reason, I'm here and I'm doing it. You know, and what I'm supposed to learn, obviously, is my grandma and, like, my life and my lineage and my ancestors. And I'm owning all that and taking it and, you know, doing my best to enjoy it. But, like, just the last 2 years, I've lived in 2 different apartments in New York, in Dominican Republic, hosted 3 retreats, and now I'm in Florida. It's fucking wild. So am I back in the States? I'm here to take care of my grandma. But there was, like, a situation in my family, and my grandmother called me twice over the last year, once in February and once in August, to come and help her. And it got dangerous, so I came and helped. And now here I am. And every time I leave, there's a problem, so I really can't leave. People remain closed-minded when staying in a bubble and not exploring all that life has to offer. Accurate statement. It was painful for me to see you give love so freely to a partner who appeared to be so unappreciative. That's on me. That is 100% on me. You know, the second my love isn't reciprocated, it's my job to walk away. And so, you know, we all make our own choices, and I've learned from all of my choices. And, you know, to be fair, Yohan loved me. And I know that that's not easy for you guys to see, but that man loved me, and still does. I believe that. Everything does happen for a reason. That is a fact. God bless Grandma. Yeah. My heart breaks a lot. But one thing that's interesting about my relationship with Yohan over the last year is that at the same time I was having this experience with him, I was also having an experience with my father that was so necessary for me to see what are my patterns in my relationships and why. And so having these 2 very painful experiences taught me so much about myself. And I would not trade these experiences for the world. It's hard when you love someone and see the best in them when they treat us like crap. That's why when 2 people who do love each other have communication breakdown can unpack it in therapy. Thank you. Because this is what makes therapy amazing. You have a third party or a second party, if you're going alone, who is looking at you objectively. We are moving through life from an emotional core, right? Our emotions, for many of us, drive us. So when you have an objective observer who is not living your life, who is not in your skin, who is not having the emotional experience you have, looking at the choices that you're making and mirroring for you maybe why some of those choices are being made, or noticing patterns in different things that you've done, especially when you work with a good therapist for an extended period of time, you know, it's so powerful because my therapist she just has to look at me. She doesn't even really have to say anything. I'll explain something and then she'll be like, huh. And do you remember when this happened? And I'm just like, oh my God. You know, like, it's so powerful and it's expensive. I spend so much money on my self-care. It's where all of my money goes. But I'm a better person for it. And my goal is to be the best version of myself that I can be so I can have a positive impact on the world. Like, I want to do, create as little drama as possible. I know that doesn't seem obvious, but like that really is a goal of mine. And like share as much love as possible and create as much positive impact as possible. Oh, no one can take me down. I'm in therapy with my partner. We come from 2 traumatic pasts that we sometimes project unknowingly onto each other. Our therapist has saved our relationship. And just that sentence, recognizing that you come from 2 different traumatic pasts and that you project on each other, just having that awareness and that realization is fucking huge. You know how many people don't even have that? My grandma went inside, so I can share this now. The other day, I forget what she did. I woke up, I did 9,000 things in the house. I was going food shopping at 8 o'clock in the morning so I could come back and power wash the driveway. And, she gets up and it takes her 2 hours to get ready in the morning, full face of makeup, decked out, accessories, everything. And she got up and directly went outside to hang out with the lawn guy. She loves the lawn guy and the pool guy. Whatever. She's definitely my grandma. And so I'm like, she didn't even say good morning to me. So I go to leave, and she's like, did you make coffee? That's the first thing she said to me. And I'm just like, no, I didn't make coffee. Have a beautiful day. I went food shopping because it's fucking 88. I'm not making an issue out of it. I come back from food shopping. I go to power wash the driveway. Mind you, I don't know how to power wash anything. I've never, ever wanted to be a homeowner. Ever. It was not in my path. And I get a lot of shit for it in my family because assets. And I'm just like, nope, I want to travel the world. Thank you. And so I learned how to use this fucking machine from the pool guy. Thank you, pool guy. Mark, his name is. And I took hours to do this driveway because I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. But it came out good. And when I came inside, the thing that she says to me is, I thought you were going to power wash the whole block. She doesn't say thank you. She doesn't say, oh, it looks nice. Nothing. And I'm just like, okay. And I just didn't respond. And I went in the kitchen and started making dinner, whatever. It's like, I'm a full-time caretaker. I'm basically a stay-at-home mom who has to run a business at night. And so she sees that I'm not engaging with her. So she goes in her room and gets all passive-aggressive and starts cleaning out her drawers and organizing her shit. And she's watching TV in there. She won't come in the living room. So at night after dinner, I'm like, hi, Graham. You want to come eat dinner? No. I said, what's wrong with you? She said, you haven't talked to me all day. I said, well, here are two ways that you hurt my feelings today. And I'm really trying here. This is not my skill set. And I'm really trying to be present for you. And she said, it was a joke. You take everything so personally. And that was something really interesting for me. Anytime someone hurts your feelings, they don't want to own it. They say, well, it was a joke. I didn't mean it. I was being sarcastic. And that was a light bulb that went off because it's very much my family. And I have done that also. I was just kidding. I was just being sarcastic. Why are you getting so offended? It's a you issue. You're too sensitive. And I needed that experience to be mirrored back to me so that I cannot engage in that behavior myself, right? We're better to learn that from my own family. But I have to be reflective enough and willing to take feedback and share feedback enough to be able to engage in that kind of dialogue that's healthy. And she started crying, and but by the end, she got it. I was like, I need to be able to tell you if you hurt my feelings, and you need to be able to say, wow, I didn't realize that, I'm sorry. And it was really powerful, and she was able to hear it by the end. She doesn't remember because she doesn't remember a lot of things, but it was powerful for me. And I learned that in therapy. If I had never gone to therapy, I would never be able to engage in a healthy dialogue like that. That was a long way to explain, I think all relationships should start in therapy. You should have a relationship going into a therapist going into a relationship, and I recommend at least seeing a therapist once or twice a month, even if your relationship is healthy, so that you can work through the shit that's always going to exist between two humans. He is just a stepping stone for you. The love is still real. She talks, I wouldn't take personal. Yeah, I don't take anything personally. It's not a matter of taking things personally. It's more I'm allowed to feel hurt by something that someone says or does and share that feeling. And I promise if the way that you're communicating is hurting me, it's probably hurting other people too. I was this way. I used to have my friends tell me all the time, you're so sarcastic. You're such an asshole. why do you always have to feel like you're better than everyone? That's feedback that I've gotten, and I never understood it. Like, because I was like, what do you, like, I don't think I'm better than you. I think I'm a disaster, to be honest. Like, it is the furthest thing from the truth. But it was the way that I delivered the information. I had to, have it mirrored back to me in order to really understand that. And that happens in therapy. That happens in relationships. Relationships are assignments. I've been through therapy since I was a teenager. I'm 40 now. Finally found my angel therapist. She's changed yeah. When you find a good one, like I found this woman, oh my God, life-changing. And I sent her to one of my former students, to her high school students, and he said the same thing. Like, she's a godsend. I don't know. She fell out of the sky. And she was originally my couples therapist. And then she just became my therapist. Come, kiss. I don't know what you're barking at, but I keep failing my assignments. No, there's no such thing as failure. There's only lessons. There's only lessons. There's no such thing as a failed relationship or failed marriage. It's where you were supposed to be at that time. Giz, what's the deal? What is it you're barking at? Come talk to me. All right, I gotta go, or I'm gonna be late to my appointment. You're allowed to teach people how to treat you by having healthy boundaries. Yes, and that's exactly the conversation I had with this person this morning. This is my boundary. I'm asking you to respect it. And I was told literally, sorry, I don't know if you heard that, but I was like basically called a nut job and delusional when I said, please don't put my name in your mouth. Please don't put pictures of me on your feed. I'm crazy for saying that I don't want that. I think that's like a fair thing to say. Like, please don't talk about me and post my content. When you find that therapist and can't unpack all the crap that's been shoved away in your conscience, you start to live your life with more love and light. Yeah, that is a fact. All right, let me go. I love you guys. Have a beautiful day. I hope that this was helpful for you in your morning commute or whatever it is you're doing today.